Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our October voter rally. I hope you are excited. I am Stephanie Young. I'm the executive director of When We All Vote. We are a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization launched by none other than Michelle Obama, and we are on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every single election, not just the big presidential elections, but literally every election and local and state elections that can impact our communities the most. That is why I'm so happy to be here with you all tonight. I want to know where you're from. So go in the chat, let us know where you're from. If you're from a partnering organization, let us know that organization as well. We are thrilled to build more community with you. And we have so much to talk about. But first, I want to take a moment to thank you all for all of your hard work that you've already done. It's because of you that we were able to register thousands of voters during our National Voter Registration Week of Action that took place September 25th through October 3rd. Our work would not be possible without you. You are literally the nucleus that holds When We All Vote together. I want to thank our partners, our partner BET and their Reclaim My Vote or Your Vote campaign. They partnered with us this evening to make tonight happen, and we are so grateful for their continued partnership. But I also want to give a shout out to Zeta Phi Beta, Sorority Incorporated, one of our my Divine Nine sister organizations, who I know are on this call tonight, and they are ready to hit the ground running in communities all around this country. We've got 35 states that have elections, people, so we got a lot of work to do. But tonight we're here for two reasons. First, state and local elections are happening everywhere. I just mentioned 35 states have elections this November, and these elections will directly impact our communities. Voters are selecting their next mayors, sheriffs, governors, and Supreme Court justices. There's so much happening that we have to be paying attention. There is no time to be asleep at the wheel here. Early voting, that's what this rally is about tonight. Early voting started this month, and When We All Vote is encouraging all eligible voters to vote early and become a hashtag October voter. So once you vote, make sure you show that sticker and hashtag October voter. There are important decisions for you to make in your state that will affect your community. Virginia, I went to Hampton University, so Virginia is near and dear to my heart. Virginia will be deciding their next governor. Boston, where my mom is actually from, is voting for their mayor. I believe it's two women who are running for mayor, which is huge. And Pennsylvania will fill very important seats on their Supreme Court. There are countless offices up for election that impact our everyday lives. I can't enforce enough how important every election is, and we have to get out and vote in every single one of them. Secondly, the Freedom to Vote Act. That is on the schedule for a Senate vote this week. Tomorrow. And if we want to protect our right to cast our ballots, especially early and by mail, we need the Senate. We need the people who are representing us and our values to take action. So we are asking, especially for those of you who live in a state that does not have an election, to take action with us by supporting the Freedom to Vote Act. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we want you to join When We All Vote as an October voter and vote early by mail or in person. The last day to vote is November 2nd. That's election day. That's the last day, but you can vote early. And then we want you to join the 15,000 Americans who've already taken action with When We All Vote by calling your senator and telling them to pass the Freedom to Vote Act. And you can do that by heading to our Take Action page right now at whenweallvote.org. It will be in the chat for you. And Elizabeth Hira, who is our great friend from the Brennan Center, will be joining us later to talk about this and give you more details so you understand how critically important this legislation is. So now I would like to introduce my good girlfriend, the Vice President of Social Impact at BET Networks, Mrs. Let's get this right because I was at her wedding. Mrs. Brittany Packnick Cunningham. Brittany, thank you so much for being here.
Hey sis, it is always fantastic to be with you. Shout out to Team Three Names, anybody who's in the audience tuning in and has three names too. Most importantly though, we are all voters, and so BET is always privileged to partner with When We All Vote. You know, Stephanie, we've been partnering for a really long time. When We All Vote and BET has been in the trenches with hundreds of other partners all around the country. And we are really proud to be a part of today's rally and to be a longtime partner with you all. Stephanie, as you know, BET has the ongoing Reclaim Your Vote campaign. Last year, we created National Black Voter Day out of thin air with over 50 partners just like you all to make sure that Black voters remember just how important all of us are. And we resurrected that day again this year to make sure that that is an annual thing, because voting is an annual thing. Like you said, Stephanie, there are 35 states that have elections this year, and people want to think that voting happens only every 4 years or even only every 2, but there are important elections happening every single day. Look, Audre Lorde reminded us that there is no such thing as a single issue struggle, because we don't lead single issue lives. And every single issue that impacts us, climate change, racial injustice, housing equity, the carceral system, police violence, the economy, all of it intersects at the ballot box, which means that that vote has the opportunity to impact all of those things that are happening in our lives and then some. So at BET, we are committed to encouraging all people, especially Black folks, brown folks, and young people, to vote each and every chance we get. Every single election matters, and I don't have to tell you all, so do the local ones. This is where school budgets are being determined. This is where police chiefs and police budgets are being determined. This is where statewide budgets are being determined. Justices are being sat on your local and state courts. All of these small decisions build up to bigger decisions, and it matters who we elect to represent us and how we make sure they do so. Look, if your vote didn't matter, we wouldn't see the kinds of attacks on voting rights that we see all around this country that have especially resurrected in the last few years. I personally believe that that has plenty to do with the fact that it was a whole lot of marginalized folks who made their way to the polls last year and defied expectations and surprised everyone. So I want to thank all of you in this space who have volunteered, who voted, who have texted your friends and reminded them of their responsibility, and who are still in this fight, who made it happen in 2020 and who are making it happen in 2021. Like Stephanie said, this is all happening because of you. So thank you for doing all that needs to be done to make sure that everyone, and I do mean everyone, has access to this precious franchise, whether they vote early, on the day of, or whenever. We are glad you are here, and BET is always, always got your back.
Thank you so much, Brittany. We love you. You inspire us to do even more. And I'm so glad that you were at BET leading the way to make sure that you guys are consistently always at the table. And this is only the beginning of an even bigger and greater partnership. So, y'all, this is going to be a great night because we have an amazing host. I thank God she is here tonight and you don't have to deal with me trying to host this. It is my honor to introduce our guest host for tonight. Now, she is an award-winning on-air talent and entertainment journalist. You've seen her on MSNBC's Today Show. She is also part of the wildly popular podcast, Black Girl Pod. Her name is Gia Peppers. She is sweet as pie, and we absolutely love her. We could go on and on and on and on about how special Gia is, but you will get to see that tonight. So Gia, thank you for hosting us tonight, and please take it away.
Stephanie Young, I love you so much. Also, shout out to my sister, Brittany Packnett Cunningham. Wow, new title, new rules, new goals. We love to see it. Congratulations on all of that. And BET, thank you for being family, but also being a partner tonight. And thank you to When We All Vote for having me. I'm hoping to bring some energy and some great, great moments, okay, to this event, because we know you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. And that means you want to learn, and that means you want to understand why it's so important to vote early. So thank you so much for being here. And so let's get into the agenda for tonight. The game plan is you'll hear from some very special guests who are partnering with When We All Vote in this effort to get out the vote. They are leaders of the National Urban League Vote Early Day and the Virginia Civic Engagement Table. And I can't wait for you to hear what all of these incredible human beings have to say. Then next, we will hear from the When We All Vote organizing team about how is important, how you can take action to get out the vote in your communities this month, leading up to November 2nd, not just on November 2nd. And last, but definitely not least, you will hear from our When We All Vote's friends at the Brennan Center, who are here to tell you that even if your state does not have an election, there is so much more at stake, and there are ways that you can take action. But first up, I have an incredible honor of introducing a person who really needs no introduction, but because we are honored to have him, I will go ahead and introduce Mark Morial. Mark Morial is the current president and CEO of the National Urban League, the nation's largest historic civil rights and urban advocacy organization. President Morial, as the mayor of New Orleans, as well as the president of the U.S. Confairs, before which he was a Louisiana state senator. Let me say sure I say it right now. And he is a leading voice on the national stage for jobs, education, housing, and voting rights. All in all, an incredible human being. Please help me welcome President Mark Morial.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you, Gia. I am just so honored to be here tonight. Let me thank Brittany Packnett Cunningham and the BET team, the When We All Vote team led by Stephanie Young, and everyone who is part of this evening's important activities. Last year, in 2020, a record number of people turned out to vote. 70% of those that voted by using a non-traditional method. What do I mean by that? They did something other than going to the polling place on election day. Now, all across America, in 40 plus states, there are now efforts to change the rules, change the laws to affect how people vote. What we cannot do in this fall election, in those states where there are important elections, is now fall into a slumber and a sleep and not participate and not vote by habit. Democracy is indeed under attack. But one way we can protect democracy, one way we can put a marker down in support of our own power is by actually turning out to vote. So here's what I want everyone to do. First of all, I want each of you to know the options you have to vote in your jurisdiction. Can you vote by mail? Can you early vote? Are you required to go to the polling place on election day with some form of identification? Know the rules. Second thing I want you to do is make a list of 10 people, friends and family members, and appoint yourself as chairperson of your own Get Out the Vote committee. As chairperson of your own Get Out the Vote committee, you're going to be responsible for communicating with those 10 people each and every day until they confirm that they have voted. You can contact them by phone, in person, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, fax, email. But what I want you to do is reinforce with them the value of voting. And if we do 10 each, and if everyone takes 10, and we communicate, we can do our part. Many ask, what can I do? Little me. I don't have much power. You have an enormous amount of power because you have the power to influence your friends and your family. So I want to thank When We All Vote. I want to thank BET. 2021 is important. We know we have 2022 upcoming. We must stand up for democracy. We must stand up for the right to vote. We must stand up for the right to pick the people that make decisions that affect us. That's what voting's about. That's what democracy's about. So God bless. Get to the polls, turn out, be a part, make a difference. And as John Lewis always reminded us, make good trouble. Make good trouble. Make good trouble. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Morial, for that message. We got to get, like he said, to the polls, but make sure that we are telling our family and friends, getting those group chats. I know we hate to be that annoying person, but there's a lot at stake and we got to make sure that everybody is aware we got to vote early. And so we're going to keep moving this program right along because, again, we have so many.
Thanks, Gia.
You're welcome. We have so many incredible speakers. Next up, I'm going to introduce Alex Bratton, the of the Virginia Civic Engagement Table. Alex is the Senior Program Manager at the Virginia Civic Engagement Table, working with C3 progressive organizations throughout the Commonwealth to develop and implement coordinated collective actions that strengthen and expand our democracy. She also serves as the state lead for the Nonpartisan Election Protection Program, coordinating volunteer and advocacy efforts during season. Alex currently resides in VA, and we'll listen to everything she has to say about how much is at stake this fall in Virginia and across the country. Alex, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Gia. I am so excited to join you all this evening. The Virginia Civic Engagement Table is part of the State Voices national affiliated network of 23 state tables and over 1,200 organizational partners across the country. Together, we are working throughout the year to build a multiracial democracy where we can all live in our full dignity and a world in which everyone has the resources they need to thrive, not just survive. In 2020, the State Voices Partner Network registered over 2.1 million voters and made over 228 million voter contacts nationwide. Across the country, voter turnout was record-breaking, and it just shows what we can do when we work together. Right now, we are in a pivotal moment to truly change the landscape of our democracy by breaking down the systems built to oppress us and building out our vision for a democracy that is meant to work for the people before politicians, not the other way around. In Virginia, we have made leaps and bounds over the last 2 years as it pertains to voting rights, by going from being the second to last worst state to vote in to being in the top 15. Some of those notable changes include 45 days of no excuse early voting, the expansion of voting by mail, repealing our photo ID law, and most recently, the creation of our very own Virginia Voting Rights Act. And we still have work to do as we continue to make voting more accessible for Virginians. Voting rights, that is just one of the many reasons why this election is so important. I know we literally say that every election, every time, but our state and local elections matter just as much, if not more, than our federal elections, because we often see and feel the effects of state legislation and local ordinances at a much quicker rate. So many critical issues that we all care about show up on this ballot as we are voting for our next governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and all 100 seats of our House of Delegates. So if you live in Virginia, please make sure you go out and vote. If you haven't had the chance to vote yet, make a plan to do so that works best for you. The deadline to request a vote by mail ballot is this Friday, October 22nd by 5 p.m. Early voting in person is still underway and will end on October 30th at 5 p.m. And of course, you always have Election Day, November 2nd, where polling locations are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. across Virginia. We need every Virginia voter to show up and show out just like we did last year. Because if we want bold change in a democracy that is truly reflective of our people and our values, we must make sure our voices are heard at the ballot box. Thank you all again so much for having me, and I'm passing the mic back over to you, Gia.
Thank you, Alex. That was incredible. I'm from the DMV myself. So Virginia, you're part of the group now. Okay, we need y'all to get to the polls and understand and get that early voting registration in by this Friday. I can't believe that. That came up so quickly. I can't believe Halloween's almost here, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas. But we've got a lot to do for November 2nd, people. So let's just keep in there. And speaking of keeping in there, we're going to keep the program moving with a person I'm super excited to hear from. He is Max Zorich, the Senior Director of Social Impact at the MTV Entertainment Group at Viacom CBS and the head of the steering committee at Vote Early Day. He was previously on the social impact team at General Assembly and Purpose. So you know he's going to give us a little bit of purpose in there as well. Please welcome Max Zorich.
Thanks so much, Gia, and thanks to When We All Vote for bringing us all together today. As she mentioned, I'm Max Zorich. I work on the social impact team at MTV, and I'm super excited to talk about Vote Early Day today. In 2020, we at MTV helped found Vote Early Day as a new civic holiday focusing on making sure that every voter across the country knows how they can vote early. And this Saturday, October 23rd, we will continue that momentum with the second nationwide Vote Early Day over 70% of Americans are registered, but every year only 30 or 50% of people actually show up to vote. And that's why it's so important for us, as we've been talking about today, to make sure our friends and family are actually turning out to vote and not just being registered, but casting that ballot. And when we vote early, we know that those busy schedules, those friends and family commitments, those confusing rules, long lines, they won't stop us from casting our ballot because we give ourselves the time we need to make sure that we vote. And that's exactly why we launched Vote Early Day. We brought together thousands of partners last year from across the country and catalyzed more than 3 million people to vote on the 10th day before the election last year. And this fall, these complications continue with the pandemic. There's more laws, as we know, they're happening. They're making it more confusing for everyone to vote. And so that's why it's more important than ever that we show up for those elections, whether they're for congressional candidates or city council or municipal elections in communities big and small. We have an opportunity to make a big impact this fall. And it's more important than ever to make sure that we know about our options to vote early. So this fall, we brought together over 1,000 partners from across the country to celebrate Vote Early Day, from college campuses to local nonprofits to national technology companies like Twitter and Snapchat and organizations like When We All Vote, to make sure that people are getting ready, people like you, to get ready to vote early. There's a group in Cleveland that's hosting a live DJ and food trucks at their election office. There's an election administrator in Boulder that has a ballot drop box at a local brewery, and they're bringing out drag queens. We have the League of Women Voters in New Jersey. They're hosting their first celebrations at the polls for early voting, because for the first time in that state's history, they're going to be able to vote early in person. So there's amazing events that are happening across the country, and it's really not too late to plan a celebration. As we've heard tonight, find those friends, tap your local community, text them, email them, and bring them out and think about how you might celebrate Vote Early Day this Saturday. You can join us as a partner at voteearlyday.org. No matter how small of a community you're bringing, or whether you're working with a big organization, you can always celebrate something like Vote Early Day and bring people together. So visit us at voteearlyday.org, sign up, celebrate, and we'll see you at the polls. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Max. Vote Early Day again this Saturday. If you guys are taking notes, go ahead and write that down. And if you are using social media, tweet it, share it to your friends, share it on Instagram, tell everyone to celebrate Vote Early Day this Saturday. All right. We got to make sure the weekend plans are big. You're not going to just be in the house watching Netflix. You're going to be celebrating Vote Early Saturday by doing your part. Okay. So let me introduce our next speaker, Amanda Hollowell from the When We All Vote team, from our good old team, is going to talk to us about how we'll be able to take the action steps for early voting. I'm happy to introduce Amanda Hollowell, the national organizer. Today's speaking voice is going to be on task, guys. Okay, we're going to start that again. Amanda Hollowell, the national organizing director at When We All Vote. Amanda, welcome, and I'm sorry, but I got it right.
Oh my God, Gia, thank you so much. And don't worry, I flub my own name. So this is what we do, right? We make it work. And I'm Amanda Hollowell, the National Organizing Director here at When We All Vote. And I am so excited to talk about what we are going to do for October voter and early voting. First, I want to acknowledge that you guys did such an amazing job and all that hard work when we did our Back to the Ballot Box Week of Action. And it was so important to do that first step of getting people registered to vote. Now we need to get these people to the polls. So we want to make sure that everyone is casting their ballot, those who have elections this November. So what I'm going to do next is talk about the how. So how are we going to make sure our friends, family, and neighbors and our whole community are October voters? So there are 3 steps to participating in our October voter campaign. I'm going to try to walk you through each piece and each detail. First, we're going to make a plan to vote early. So that means you need to find out that information. What election do you have? Where do you need to go vote? But make a plan to take some time, dedicate a day, either during early voting or on election day, to go vote. Next, you're going to host an October voter event. So this is the time that we're going to encourage folks to really get involved. And I think Max had like some amazing creative ideas. The one that really stood out to me was the one about the drag queens. And I think, brewery always helps. But anyways, if you can't go that big, just host something. Make sure you're trying to get folks out there and encouraged to vote. And one of the things that we're really trying to do is incentivize folks. So what we're trying to offer is that once you host an October event and you register it with us, you will actually be able to get a free merch kit. So you'll be able to get all these free goodies to folks that you're encouraging to go vote. And last but not least, we need you to report back. All this good information is nothing without hearing, what their stories, where were you? What group were you with? The pictures are the best, y'all. So we want you to report back. And those are the 3 steps. I'm going to hand it over to our Deputy Director of Organizing, Miss Arisa, and she's going to go deeper into how we get this all done. Arisa?
All right. Thank you, Amanda, and good evening, everyone. I am so excited to be with you. And as we all race towards the finish line and we all become October voters with When We All Vote, remember what Stephanie said at the beginning of the show, that Election Day is not the only day you can vote. It is just the last day you can vote. So it is on all of us in 35 states where there are elections to make sure that we are making our voices heard, that we are making our plans to vote early, and that we are helping our friends and our family do the same. So let's dig into it. How can you be an October voter with When We All Vote? There are 3 steps. Step 1, plan the when, where, and how you will be voting early. Whether you're voting early in person or you are dropping off an absentee ballot, it is so important to have a plan. And we know that because life gets busy. And that's why we plan for it. That's why we make sure that we know where our polling place is. We know where we're dropping off our ballot. We know who is on the ballot. We know how to request a ballot. It is so, so important to do all of these things to make a plan and make it easier on yourself. And you can use our When We All Vote page to do this at weall.vote/voter-hub. The second step to be an October voter with When We All Vote is to figure out how you're going to be celebrating voting early and to get your friends and your family and your community to join you, because that's what voting is all about. It's about all of us together and celebrating this democracy together. So get your squad. Get your friends, your family, rally 3 people to come with you to the polls or to have a little dance party at your ballot drop box. You can hop in the car and do a little car caravan to the polls. No matter what you are doing, make sure that you're making that plan to vote and make sure that you are bringing your community into it. I've seen a lot of you already sign up to be October voters, already sign up to get your communities and your neighborhoods involved, your sororities, your fraternities, your classmates. We see it, and it is so, so important. So whatever you decide to do, please sign up with us at weall.vote/October-voter. Again, voting is more fun when we do it together, and that's what this is all about. Luckily, we have all of this information and more on how to do every single one of these steps, from choosing where you're going to vote early to inviting folks to join you. We have thought through everything. We are here with you in this movement. We are here with you in this election. So let's go ahead and walk through the tools that we'll need to be October voters together. Amanda, over to you to walk through tools.
Thank you so much. So tools, of course, we're talking about how are you equipped to do these things that we're asking you to do. And boy, do we have a list of things that are going to make you successful being an October voter. So first, we talked about this. You got to make a plan to vote. And we've created this amazing resource called our Voter Hub, where you'll be able to pull out information about your polling location or where to request an absentee ballot. You're going to find that information on our webpage at weall.vote/Voter Hub. Remember, you got to have a plan to vote. So that place right there, that website is going to give you all the things you need. And what I really like about it, it also has some information about knowing your rights. And that is very important when you go out to vote. Next, and number 2, is our volunteer guide. The volunteer guide will be able to be downloaded at weall.vote/guide. And in that guide or that toolkit, you're going to get every single step you need in order to have a successful October voter campaign. We want you to be successful. That's why we have all these tools. And last but not least, we want you to report back. We're nothing without you. And the way we communicate with you is through this report back form. You need to tell us what you did, how many people were there, what groups you worked with. All of this information is important to us, and we want to hear from you. And we don't want to chase you down. Just kidding. But we will send an email. But more so than ever, we will also provide you another tool, which is our website, weall.vote/report back. You can use this tool right here in this form to fill out all the information about your events and tell us the good and the bad. We want to hear it all. So this is our goal. During this week of action, we're taking those registered voters and we're getting them to the polls. That is the most important thing. We need people to go vote. One of the things that I'm really excited about is that we've got this free merch giveaway if you do host an October voter event. And how that's going to work is you sign up and register your event, and then you will get a confirmation email. In that confirmation email will be this great Google form where you will fill out and be eligible for a free kit. And we will get that in the mail to you ASAP. And guess what's in that kit? That kit has stickers, it has buttons, it has a yard sign, it has place cards, it has even ways where you can write down and say why you're an October voter. And this is really cool. And we want everyone to show their pictures with all their merch. And that's how we build community. And more so than anything, we just really want to make sure everyone understands how important this moment is. That it's not just the one time, but it's repeat times. And we want to make sure you're equipped to do that. And so before I kind of summarize what we're going through, I also want to make sure to say this. After you've done all this work, or if you need more information, you can always go to the website, weall.vote/October voter. And again, all this information is sitting right there for you. You can recap whatever you've seen tonight or heard that interests you, and even start the steps to host your own October voter event. More so than anything, y'all, we want you guys to make an early plan to vote. We want you guys to be equipped. And so we've got that volunteer guide. We really want you guys to participate in this moment. So that's why we've got the free merch. And then we want to hear back from you. So we really want you to report back. And with that, I'm going to throw it back to our lovely host. I did fangirl a little bit privately, but I know she is going to take it out for us. But I also think we have a video that we want to show everyone the importance about early voting from another special guest. Gia?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. The fangirling is mutual to you and honestly everyone on this call. And you probably are a fan of this next person. As Amanda said, we do have a special video from legendary artist and friend of When We All Vote, Common, as we share a project he pulled together for us to get people out to the polls early. Check it out.
No justice or justification. The cusp of generations searching for ventilation. If 2020 vision is any indication of where we are, where we've been, where do we go? And whose side are you fighting on this evening, sister? Movement of the people, we take God with us and recreate equal that'll outlive us. Delivered to this earth with authority. Never thought of myself as a minority. Cordial invites to far left and alt rights. I'm from the Bob Marley party, everything will be alright. I still believe that there's a place in this world for people just like. Better hear what I've got to say because you won't get it again. You say all life matters, but you pay it no mind when black life shatters. I know there's light at the end of the struggle. Revolution and love is like a couple. People all around the world. I still believe that there's a place in this world, a place for me and you. Cannot understand it. I still believe that there's a place in this world for people just like you. As a people, we get knocked down, and we will stand up. Stand and make your voice heard this election. You have a choice to make your place in this world. Make it happen. When we all vote together, we become more than a vote. Make your plan. Vote early. For more information, go to whenweallvote.org.
Oh, that was so dope. Thank you to Common for sending in that inspiring video. I love the way he uses his platform to continue to push out important messaging like vote early. And also, it is one of my wishes to have him perform The Light at my wedding, but maybe he'll perform that too, because that was a really good song. So thank you to Common for all of that beautiful, beautiful music. And so moving right along, we're going to bring up Elizabeth Hira from the Brennan Center for Justice. Elizabeth Hira is a Spitzer Fellow and Policy Counsel with the Brennan Center for Justice, focusing on large-scale democracy reform that centers equity. Elizabeth worked most recently as a lawyer in the U.S. Congress for the first then Senator Kamala Harris, developing federal policy on gender equity and civil rights, and later serving on the Committee on the House Administration to develop the first version of the H.R. 1 for the 116th Congress, which has been changed and introduced as the Freedom to Vote Act. That means she literally helped to write the bill. Just round of applause. Elizabeth has worked globally and domestically on equity for women, children, and underserved communities. She holds a BA from Stanford University and earned her JD at Georgetown Law. Please help me welcome the incredible Elizabeth Hira.
Thank you so much, Gia. Thank you for your energy and your enthusiasm and for bringing people together. As always, thank you to Stephanie, to Arisa, to Common, to Mrs. Obama, the entire When We All Vote family, because I don't know when you guys sleep. All you do is get people together to vote, which is so beautiful. So let me use my time to just tell you some quick things. First, you know the fact is that many states do allow for early voting, but not every state does. And the reality is that every state absolutely should. So I want to take a little time to talk to you about this bill, the Freedom to Vote Act, that would actually just set a basic national standard so that every state had that right we're talking about, just set up the expectation that everywhere folks should be able to vote early. And then not only am I going to tell you about early voting in the bill, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the bill, because frankly, it is extraordinary and transformational, and I need you to know about it because it's exactly the sort of thing we've been looking for to have hope in America. So starting with early voting, in this Freedom to Vote Act that we just talked about, what this would provide is 2 weeks of early voting before the date of an election, including weekends and at polling places before and after the workday. And we know what that's like. If the right to vote is limited to that one election day that you're scrambling to get to work, you might be getting the kids off to school, then you've also got to go work the whole day. And if you miss the bus coming out of work, that should not cost your right to vote for that entire election cycle. This bill would fix that. So before work, after work, during the weekends, for no less than 10 hours every day with uniform hours. And then I love that everybody is thought of in this bill. This bill requires that to the greatest extent practicable, early voting sites have to be located within walking distance of public transit. And not only that, but if your jurisdiction has a rural area or has a college campus, there have to be early voting sites available for there too. Everybody should be able to access their vote freely and fairly, and that's all this bill is really about. But that, believe it or not, is just one part of the package, that early voting. This bill would do so many simple common sense fixes to bring literally millions of Americans onto the voting rolls. Like right now, for instance, we do not have same day registration. That means you can't just register to vote on the day of an election. And that disproportionately leaves out Black and Latino and young people from voting. And this bill would simply fix that by providing same day voter registration and providing vote by mail without an excuse. It would allow for secure drop boxes that would be available 24 hours across the country. Folks would just be able to drop off their vote, even if they couldn't make it to the polls. And it restores the franchise to people who are formerly incarcerated, which again, because of the racial bias and mass incarceration, would mean 1.6 million Black and brown voters would be put back on the rolls. That alone would bring 4 million voters generally back onto the rolls. And like I said, things like same-day registration would increase young people by 10%. Millions and millions of young people could be brought onto the rolls with that simple fix. It also does really important big picture stuff like banning partisan gerrymandering, which we know is often a proxy for racial gerrymandering. And the thing I always like to flag to folks, right now we talk a lot about the right to vote, which is incredibly important, but what if we did more? What if we actually asked big questions like, fundamentally, how could we restructure our democracy to make sure that everyday Americans are at the table, to make sure that our democracy reflected the people who were actually in it? So I like to talk about not just the right to vote and the Freedom to Vote Act, but how we could fundamentally transform our democracy through something like small dollar public financing that would bring regular people to the table. Now, I know that may sound really boring and you might want to fall asleep, but if there is one soundbite that I want you to take away from tonight, right now, our current Congress is the most diverse Congress in American history. That most diverse Congress, those people who are sitting in those seats representing us, they are 77% white. They are 74% male. Fewer than 5% of them have ever reported working a blue-collar job. When you put all of that together, you realize that who gets a seat at the table dictates what policies get brought to that table, whose priorities get lifted up. And those people being at the table, not reflecting all of us, explain why we don't have paid family leave or universal healthcare or universal childcare. You know what happens when we actually get regular people at the table, people with lived experience? We get folks like Cori Bush, who is willing to tell us her story, to say, I was unhoused living in my car with my 2 babies. And what that meant is that she was willing to put her body on the line for the rest of us to stop evictions happening for so many Americans across this country. Putting us in those seats changes what is possible for America. So it's not just that we vote, which is so critical and central. It is who we get to vote for. It's lifting up the priorities of everyday Americans. And so that's the good news I want to share with you. I'm sure you're hearing the terrible news about these voter suppression bills that are going state by state. Over 425 bills the Brennan Center has counted in 49 states. Do not despair, because the answer is we do not need to be fighting 49 fights. We have one fight. And that fight ahead of us is to pass the Freedom to Vote Act at the federal level, along with the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. And so that is the news that I want to share with you, that you need to be involved in that one fight urgently. It is going to happen soon. It will happen hopefully before the new year for sure. That symbol change will change literally who gets to participate in America. And I am so proud of you and so excited for you to be an ambassador to your community to spread that word. Thank you all so much for having me. And I'm so glad to kick it back to Gio with that.
Thank you so much. I just love to hear all of the incredible things that everyone is working on. Thank you all for all the information you shared, Elizabeth. And I'm going to throw it back to Arisa for some next steps. Let's bring back up Arisa.
Yay, thank you, Miss Gia. It is such a privilege and an honor to get to share the stage with you and with you, Elizabeth. We know that our volunteers love you so much. So thank you again for sharing all of that wisdom with us and for telling us how every single one of us needs to make those calls, needs to make their voices heard, needs to mobilize to get this done. I saw today that the NHL came out in support of the Freedom to Vote Act, because we know that the power of the people is greater than the people in power, and there is so much at stake. So regardless of where you live, regardless of whether you have an election in your state or not, we need you to make those calls and to mobilize to get that Freedom to Vote Act passed. And if you live in one of those 35 states with an election, we need you to be an October voter. Every single vote. Every single voter matters. You got a roommate, they need to vote. You got a friend, they need to vote. You got someone in your DMs asking you what your love language is. It's voting early and asking 3 friends to do the same. So with that, let's dig into our next steps from our time together tonight. I'm going to tag in my co-host, Miss Amanda. Can we talk about what our homework is from now until November 2nd?
Of course. I'm really excited to get to this part. So let's talk about it. Our next steps to make a big difference this fall are: 1, sign up to vote early and get folks to the polls as part of your October voter campaign. And again, all these resources can be found at weall.vote/October voter. Remember that once you sign up here, you'll be prompted with a Google form and you'll be eligible to receive some free merch. So while you're doing these amazing events, you can do them with all the goodies to give away to folks that you encounter. But you have to fill out both forms. So let's get started with filling out your October voter host event and then making sure you fill out that Google form.
Yes, ma'am. And number 2 is downloading our volunteer guide at weall.vote/guide. Remember, this has all of the step-by-step information that you need to look up that polling place, to organize an event, to learn how to invite people and confirm them and make sure that people are showing up with you to vote early. It has everything you need to do this work. So please access that tonight at weall.vote/guide.
And 3, let us know how it went. Again, we need you to report back. So you're going to go to weall.vote/report back. This is your chance to brag. This is what you want to tell the world what you did. And that's even our chance to pass on along to Miss Obama about all this great work that all our volunteers are doing around the country. I'm not kidding. But also, we want you to share those photos. We want to get those testimonials and all these tips you'll get straight from the form. So please, again, the form is weall.vote/report back. And I just want to thank you all for doing this important work. When We All Vote is a community, and that community is made up of the strong volunteers that are on the ground, that are doing this day in and day out. And I, from the bottom of my heart, feel like I just joined an amazing community, and I'm just so thankful and blessed to be a part of so many wonderful activities and actions, and to hear your stories as you go out and work with us and partner with us. And with that, I am passing it right back over to our lovely host, Ms. Gia.
Thank you, Amanda and Arisa. We have our marching orders, our next steps, our real chances to make Mrs. Obama proud. I mean, come on now. There's literally nothing else in the world we could do but this. Okay, that's the first step. I'm sure we make her proud every day because she's just that type of person. But this is definitely going to put that cherry on top. Okay, guys. So I'm going to definitely get my party bus together for the vote early moments. Okay, we got to figure out some ways to activate within our communities. And we all know we love maybe a brunch, a party bus, a social media challenge. Figure out some way to get your core group engaged and then get their core groups engaged so we can really have an impact at the polls. Thank you all so much. That is the end of the evening. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. And it has been an honor to host this call tonight. We've learned so much. Again, whenweallvote.org has so many resources, and the When We All Vote team is incredible. So make sure you all are checking those emails and just seeing all the social posts that they have. That's one of the easiest asks we can do, is to share what they're asking us to share, right? So I'm super excited that we'll stay in contact with them. Thank you to all of the amazing people we heard from tonight, and to the people who are going to get on the ground in getting out the vote. Thank you again to our incredible partners, BET, the National Urban League, Vote Early Day, and the Virginia Civic Engagement Table. And thank you all for being here. We appreciate you so much, and for all the work that you do to change our democracy for the better. Until next time, take care and be safe, everyone. Good night.
Trust me, baby, you way too